For the first time, we were hearing from race car driver Kyle Larson.
Yeah, Kyle Larson is attempting to do something.
Kyle Larson, who was behind the wheel of the...
There's busy, and then there's Kyle Larson in May. While most professional drivers are locked into one series and a consistent weekly rhythm, Larson is attempting something completely different, racing across 5 different series in a single month. That's not hype. That's confirmed. He'll be competing in the NASCAR Cup Series, NASCAR Xfinity Series, NASCAR Truck Series, High Limit Racing, his own Dirt Series, and the legendary Indianapolis 500, all while managing team ownership responsibilities, jet setting between states, and putting up championship-level results. But here's the part that's almost harder to believe. He says this is actually his easiest part of the year. So how is that even possible? May 2025 is shaping up to be a month like no other in Larson's career. He's scheduled to compete full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series, which is already an intense and demanding commitment. On top of that, he'll be racing in the High Limit Sprint Car Series, a dirt track tour he owns and promotes. He's also stepped into the NASCAR Xfinity Series, filling in for rising driver Connor Zilisch, and is expected to do the same in the Truck Series during the upcoming Kansas race. And, capping it all off, he's making his debut in one of the world's most iconic motorsport events, the Indianapolis 500. That's 5 different racing disciplines within just 4 weeks. These aren't easy appearances or ceremonial starts. Each one requires total focus, stamina, and elite performance. The mental shift between car types, track styles, and competition levels would overwhelm most drivers. But for Larson, it's all part of the plan. The schedule is so demanding, it's already forcing him to make tough choices, like deciding whether to skip a potentially career-defining Indy 500 pole run in favor of NASCAR's All-Star race, which carries a massive $1 million prize. But we'll get to that dilemma shortly. To put this May schedule in context, take a look at how Larson has been performing so far in the 2024 season. Back in February at Atlanta, he finished 3rd after leading 12 laps. Then in March, he grabbed a 9th-place finish at Las Vegas, where he led for 61 laps. Just 1 week later, he scored a win at Homestead, Miami after leading 19 laps. And in April, he put on an absolute clinic at Bristol, leading a jaw-dropping 411 of 500 laps en route to another win. Despite bouncing between races and responsibilities, Larson's performance hasn't dipped. If anything, he's gaining momentum. Most drivers struggle to maintain consistency during a grueling Cup schedule alone. But Larson seems to be reaching a new level of dominance as his calendar gets more crowded. This isn't a veteran fighting to stay relevant. This is a driver entering his prime. Here's where the schedule truly turns brutal. After running the Truck Series race at Kansas, Larson won't slow down. He's got his 2nd Cup Series race of the month lined up, and immediately after that, he heads to Indianapolis to begin practicing and qualifying for the Indy 500. But even that can't be completed without interruption. He'll have to leave Indy before the Fast 6 qualifying round just to fly back to North Carolina in time for the NASCAR All-Star race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. That's just the beginning. Once the All-Star race is done, Larson will return to Indianapolis for more practice, then quickly head to Charlotte to qualify for the Coca-Cola 600. The finale? Racing in both the Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600 on the same day. That's thousands of miles of air travel, multiple types of race cars, and next to no time to rest or recalibrate. For most people, it would be burnout waiting to happen, but not for Larson. Everybody thinks it's like back and forth every day, he said. But it honestly is as easy of a schedule as I get all year because I'm never in a place for 6 days in a row. So it's honestly really nice. For him, the movement is the rhythm. The chaos keeps him focused. And while that might sound counterintuitive, it seems to be working. One of the most dramatic decisions Larson may have to make this month revolves around the Indy 500's Fast 6 qualifying. If he qualifies, the final round will overlap with the start of NASCAR's All-Star race. So, what would he choose? According to Larson, the decision's already made. I think that I would miss the Fast 6 and go to the All-Star race. He said, it's important to race it. It's a lot of money on the line. Sure, it'd be great if you had an opportunity to get the pole, but I'd rather race for $1 million at the All-Star event, I think, and start 6th. You never really know how it's going to go. We've got to make sure our car is fast enough to even worry about all that. It's a fascinating peek into his mindset. Larson isn't just chasing prestige, he's weighing risk, reward, and where the real impact lies. He wants to win, but he also knows how to prioritize. With so many races and so little downtime, the big question becomes, how does he physically and mentally keep up? Larson says it's a matter of staying disciplined even when he's not behind the wheel. He works out regularly, stays active during travel, and tries to eat healthy despite the nonstop schedule. "Nobody races as much as me," he said, so I think there's something to be said to that. Being in great shape. And also when I'm not racing, I try to stay physically active and working out, doing those things, and try to eat somewhat healthy. That can be difficult at times. I feel good about where I'm at. There's no dramatic health routine or secret regimen, just consistency, movement, and intentional living. And that seems to be all he needs. Larson's responsibilities go beyond driving. He's also the owner and face of the High Limit Racing Series, a dirt track tour that's gained real traction in 2024. That means he's not just focused on his own performance. He's also managing schedules, sponsorships, marketing, and helping grow a brand. That's a full-time job by itself, but Larson's doing it on top of everything else, and he appears to love it. It takes a certain mindset to juggle those pressures while also competing at the highest level, and succeeding in all of it. What Larson is doing in May isn't just a personal achievement. It's potentially transformative for motorsports. He's proving that a modern driver doesn't have to specialize in one discipline. You can be fast in dirt, dominate stock cars, and still step into an open-wheel IndyCar with confidence. His versatility breaks the mold. While most drivers climb a single ladder, Larson is building bridges between racing worlds. That kind of crossover appeal isn't just exciting, it's important. It inspires younger drivers to be more adaptable and opens up new opportunities across different racing cultures. He's not just racing in these events, he's a contender, and that shifts the perception of what's possible. So what does all of this tell us about Kyle Larson? Maybe it shows his obsession with competition, maybe it's proof that he thrives under pressure, or maybe he's just wired differently. In a time where burnout and overextension are constant risks, Larson is piling on more and getting better as he goes. His May schedule isn't just tough, it's practically unthinkable. But for him, it's the environment where he performs at his best. It's hard to say whether anyone else could replicate this. Maybe they shouldn't, but there's no doubt we're watching something rare and possibly historic. If this is how Larson defines easy, the rest of the sport might want to buckle up. If you're as amazed by Kyle Larson's wild May schedule as we are, don't miss a second of the action. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, because this is more than racing. It's history in the making.
Sports Blue.
Oh, speaking of Larson,
Wow.
We have a crash. Kyle Larson into the wall.
Kyle Larson's second attempt at the Indianapolis 500 has hit a major roadblock. The NASCAR star crashed during the second day of open testing at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Thursday, April 24th. This marks Larson's first IndyCar crash of his career, coming at a critical time as he prepares for his second attempt at the famed double, running both the Indianapolis 500 and NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600 on the same day. The incident occurred during a qualifying simulation session when Larson was getting up to speed with his number 17 Aero McLaren Chevrolet. The crash happened in Turn 1, where Larson experienced significant understeer, a condition where the front of the car doesn't turn as sharply as the driver intends. This pushed him high into the safer barrier at the exit of Turn 1. The impact damaged his right front suspension, causing him to slide across the short chute on the south end of the track before making secondary contact with the safer barrier in Turn 2. Larson explained this after being checked and released from the IU Health Emergency Medical Center in the infield. "I was starting my qualifying laps and just got really tight and just a bunch of understeer through Turn 1 and ran out of space off of Turn 1. I kind of fought the understeer feeling Wednesday and carry over to today. I just didn't quite feel like I had the feeling I needed Wednesday, and then it really carried over Thursday. I think when you're going faster, it really stood out." Larson had a surprisingly positive outlook about the crash, telling reporters, "I'm happy to crash my first IndyCar and live through it." It's a somewhat morbid statement, but there's logic behind it. This was Larson's first time experiencing an IndyCar wall impact, providing valuable knowledge for the future. It didn't feel too different than hitting the wall in a similar fashion in NASCAR, Larson said. Obviously, there could be much bigger wrecks than that in Indy, but I'm happy that it didn't feel too bad. The crash brought Larson's testing day to an abrupt end. The Arrow McLaren team decided not to repair the car for the afternoon session, opting instead to take the vehicle back to their shop for proper repairs. They determined the damage wasn't severe enough to require a full car replacement, but fixing it would take more time than available during the test day. This crash represents quite a contrast to Larson's debut at Indianapolis last year. His 2024 month of May experience was remarkably incident-free. From rookie orientation through testing, practice, qualifying, and the race itself, Larson made it look easy. He qualified 5th and ran in the top 10 for much of the race until a late speeding penalty on pit road dropped him to an 18th place finish. His impressive performance earned him Rookie of the Year honors. Several factors may have contributed to Thursday's crash. Larson hadn't been in an IndyCar for approximately 11 months, last driving one during the 2024 Indianapolis 500. Additionally, IndyCar introduced a hybrid system since Larson's last race, adding roughly 100 pounds to the rear of the car and changing its overall balance. The qualifying simulation session also featured higher boost settings, increasing speeds significantly. The top no-toe laps were nearly 12 miles per hour faster on Thursday morning compared to Wednesday afternoon, 232.565 miles per hour versus 220.835 miles per hour. These higher speeds magnified the handling issues Larson was already experiencing. Larson admitted he was feeling rusty.
You want to adjust to it if you want to get to a point like you were last year or not. So, yeah, but overall I felt comfortable, but still, a little rusty on things, small detail things, hitting buttons and trying to really, get the dash set up to where, it processes quick to my eyes and brain and little details like that. So good to get all that out of the way today, and hopefully, tomorrow will go smoother.
In the crash itself, Larson showed racing savvy by taking his hands off the wheel before impact, a safety technique that helps prevent wrist and hand injuries when the wheel violently spins upon impact. You're just kind of on the brakes and this low car is just riding on the pavement, so you're just along for the ride sliding, Larson explained. The second hit, it didn't hurt or anything, but you can see the wall coming, so you're kind of like, oh man, I don't know what this is going to feel like. The crash has greater implications for Larson's upcoming attempt at completing the double on May 25th. Last year, Larson attempted to race both the Indianapolis 500 and NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600 on the same day, but his plan was thwarted by rain delays. The Indy 500 was delayed by 4 hours, and by the time Larson arrived at Charlotte Motor Speedway, storms had moved east and NASCAR called off the remainder of the race, just as Larson reached his pit box. This year represents Larson's second and possibly final chance at the double, as the Hendrick Motorsports and Arrow McLaren partnership was planned as a 2-year program. Only one driver in history, Tony Stewart in 2001, has successfully completed all 1,100 miles of the double, finishing 6th at Indianapolis and 3rd at Charlotte.
A sit-down discussion with anybody about that. So I don't know. I can't really fully answer that. In my head, yeah, I'm going into this thinking it's at least for the time being in the near future, the final, Indy 500. But, I am still young, and, I mentioned on Dale Jr.'s download thing that, maybe someday, when I'm not full-time Cup and I can really devote, all my mind to Indy, I'd like to do it again. But we'll see, if I happen to win the Indy 500, I probably just ride off in the sunset.
Larson revealed he hadn't done any simulator work to prepare for his return to IndyCar. He's not a big believer in simulator training, even for his NASCAR efforts.
Well, into it anyway. So, maybe if I got in the sim, buttons and all that would have been a little bit, easier to kind of set up the way I wanted. But like I said, you have enough time here that I don't really feel like it's that necessary. And then the overall sim, car balance, I think for oval stuff, it doesn't relate to real life. So I think a lot of times you can just trick yourself in there. So even on the NASCAR side of things, I don't really use the sim. So yeah, I didn't do anything, but It's gonna be plenty of track time to figure it out.
Despite the crash, Larson's lead engineer, Mike Pawlowski, noted significant improvement in Larson's comfort level compared to last year. As far as comparison to last year, it's night and day different, Pawlowski said. He's much more comfortable in the car. He knows what we're talking about in terms of the systems of the car. Interestingly, Larson wasn't the only high-profile driver to crash on Thursday. Two-time Indianapolis 500 winner Takuma Sato also crashed his number. 75 Amada Honda for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Sato hit the safer barrier in Turn 1 with significant force, and the impact carried over into Turn 2, resulting in heavy damage to his car. "I lost it. I simply lost it," Sato said after being checked and released from the medical center. "It's hard. My body is fine. It's just the car. I lost the car. That's heartbreaking." The two-day open test saw 34 drivers complete a combined 5,804 laps, or 14,510 miles. Team Penske's Scott McLaughlin, last year's Indianapolis 500 pole sitter, posted the fastest lap of the two-day session at 232.686 miles per hour. Looking ahead, Larson will now shift his focus to this weekend's NASCAR Cup Series race at Talladega Superspeedway before returning to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the start of Indy 500 practice on May 13th. Qualifying for the Indianapolis 500 is scheduled for May 17th to 18th, with the race set for May 25th, the same day as NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600. Larson remains confident that the crash won't affect his mental approach when he returns to Indianapolis next month. He said, "I tend to move on and forget about things pretty quickly, so I don't think getting into the wall will affect the mental side of things when we come back in May." Some analysts view Larson's crash differently. One perspective suggests that the incident indicates Larson is feeling more comfortable and confident in his second year at Indianapolis. For the first time in his Indy 500 career, Larson has found the limit of what the car can do. This knowledge could potentially benefit him when he returns for race weekend. Others point out that Larson's aggressive driving style, particularly his tendency to run the high line close to the wall, may need adjustment for IndyCar competition. This approach has been both a strength and weakness throughout his career in NASCAR and sprint car racing. His former NASCAR team owner Chip Ganassi was reportedly frustrated at times by Larson's propensity for wall contact. Will Larson's crash impact his prospects for completing the double? Can he recover and get comfortable with the car in time for the race? These questions will be answered when Indianapolis 500 practice begins on May 13th. Larson's crash serves as a reminder of the unique challenges faced by drivers attempting to compete in both IndyCar and NASCAR. The cars handle very differently, with IndyCars being much more sensitive at high speeds. Larson noted these differences after his crash. He explained, "In NASCAR, it feels like everything surrounds you more, the seat and all that, where you're kind of like floating a bit more in the seat, so I wasn't sure what it would be like if I hit the wall." If Larson could complete the double and win the Indianapolis 500, he would stand in rare company. He's already the defending Brickyard 400 winner at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in NASCAR competition. So winning the Indy 500 would give him victories in two of racing's most prestigious events at the same facility, something no other driver has accomplished.